person, and no offense to her, but you can't be the goat. Literally the goat. And they get demoted to doing car rental commercials. It would be altogether different if you started having car commercials and then you went to football, and like it was like you had 2 and 1. Like if you was in football being the GOAT and you got that endorsement, that would make sense. But it came literally after your contract with Giselle and her family ended. Same thing with Kevin Hart. First he got into an accident with his friend, and we all know how that went down. Oh, you were in the car with allegedly in the car with a transgender person. I ain't gonna say man, I'm gonna say transgender person, for legal reasons. And allegedly someone got caught. Allegedly there was an accident that was construed and fixed up because he didn't want to find that young person in the car with Kevin. Okay, just doesn't miss me with the bullshit. And then not only that, the first wife with the young ladies ended up outing you at some point, and then you married to this other young woman, and we already know that's a facade too. Like that's not who you want to be with. And we get it. You gotta do it for shits and giggles. So while y'all making up these statements on Kevin Hart, and I'm just saying this again, everyone on that stage had a contract with the higher ups. You already know who the higher ups are, and they do these things, humiliation rituals. And for the record, everything that Cat Williams stated from the clips that I said, I haven't watched it yet. When I go downstairs and watch it, I might go live. Y'all can see my real reaction because everything in that clip he said was not a fucking joke. He was dead ass serious. Some of y'all cannot read between the lines, and it's unfortunate for you.
Alright, Shalom, giving all praise unto Yabashima Shabashim Kohakorash. The one is under the apostles of great millstone. And I honor you brothers to be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the 4 corners of the earth. And above everybody, I come out here to give you this truth for the grace and mercy of Yahweh Shima Shabashim Kohakorash. Giving all praise unto Yabashima Shabashim Kohakorash. Okay, so we just seen a little clip. Big Shirley, you know, sometimes a broken clock, right, tells a well, how does the saying go, man? A broken clock tells the right time, you know, twice a day. Okay, so Big Shirley sometimes, you know, she be dropping, you know, it's hard for me to say, but she be dropping gems sometimes. But we gotta unpick what we just seen and gotta put certain things into their proper context. And Yahweh Shema Shawat, so this video be edifying. So for the longest time, you know, I've been speaking to brothers and kind of questioning some of the things I see that are very clearly fake. Some of these beefs, and trying to understand, you know, why do they do these things? You know, what's the significance of these particular things? You know, and brothers be dropping gems and bringing out certain information, man. Okay, some of these guys, I asked one of the elders up here. I said to him, look, man, what's this beef with Cat Williams and Kevin Hart? What you think the, you know, what's that all about? You know, we're just speaking as men, having a beer or whatever. And he said, look, man, some of these guys, they get contracted to play a role. And I'll never forget when he said that to me, because it kind of opened my eyes out to these individuals that we call superstars or whatever, right? It really opened up my eyes to the fact that, you know, just because the camera stops rolling doesn't mean that acting stops. That is to say, when you see a whole media personality, right? A person that's famous for being famous, or a person who has a brand, okay? The business is the brand, right? That's literally not that person, okay? Will Smith is a brand. That's not a person. All of these values that he speaks about, those, they don't exist because he's a brand. Like you see, you know, Nestle, they don't stand for this, and you know, Häagen-Dazs, they don't do X, Y, and Z. Those are brands. Those are not individuals. Okay, those are marketable things. Okay, they fit within a particular framework that sells a product. In other words, that person that you're seeing is a very well-cultured product. And I gotta say that again. When you see some of these celebrities, if not all of them, you're seeing this is the word I'm looking for. You're seeing a very well curated product. Okay, it's a curated product. That's something that's somebody's sat down with an individual and said, this is the character that you're gonna play. So when you see a guy like Cat, he's so-called talking about the Illuminati and all of that, he's so-called exposing the industry, yeah, he's gonna give you some so-called gems here and there. But the reality of the situation is guys like that, they're playing their role within the infrastructure of the media that Esau pushes out there. Remember, it's witchcraft, okay? TV is witchcraft, okay? TV is witchcraft. That's why they call it casting. You know, you're going to cast your Chrome onto the TV, Chromebook onto the TV, so you can watch dodgy films, you know? You don't want to play full rate, so you're gonna cast it from Putlocker or some shit. But that's literally casting, you know, that's why they call it casting. Newscaster, they're casting spells. I gotta do a video a little bit later on. It might be later on this weekend. I'm gonna do a video on some of the stuff that we be pushing onto our children, and that we're gonna watch what we watch and what our children watch. But I'll do that later on within the week. So these are spells, and in order for the spell to be bewitching, you gotta curate it in such a way where the simple-minded are gonna be captivated by it. And that means to say not everybody can just play the same character. If you're gonna play the character of Will Smith, you gotta have the guy that's gonna play the Dave Chappelle. You gotta have the character that's gonna play the Cat Williams. So these characters out here, they're not real. These people are not real individuals, okay? They don't exist like how you see them on the TV. They could be very different individuals when they're off screen. So don't be fooled by the theatrics, okay? Don't be fooled by it, because a lot of the stuff that we see on TV and all of that, man, it's not real, bro. It's just not real, okay? Just accept it. So that leads me neatly onto this roast thing that they be doing, okay? These days they be doing these roast things, and some of it's cool, some of it's funny or whatever. I'll watch it, have a giggle, have a laugh. But Big Shirley just pointed out something that I said, oh, you know what? Let me just do a little bit of research. I ain't gonna go exhaustive on this one. Probably go exhaustive at a later stage. But Big Shirley was bringing out some information, so I said, look, let me just check this out real quick. Let me see if there is a pagan origin of a humiliation ritual. Now, I know brothers have said it, and obviously we know it's a humiliation ritual. But I wanted to just see if I could link it up to some paganism. You know, the first thing that came up is the Babylon thing, right? And you know we're in Babylon. Or rather more, you know, Babylon rules the world. That is America according to the scriptures. And the Babylonian festival, the Akitu Festival, or the humiliation of the king, okay, that was a part of their culture. So I didn't really know it to that level of detail. I didn't, you know, brothers may have known it, okay, when we say humiliation ritual, and brothers say humiliation ritual, they may have known it. And I'm not saying this is the actual ritual that they're doing, all right, but you know, these guys are so-called stars, and they're so-called goats, and they're, you know, top of their game, they're kings or whatever. They're being honored. So it's not far-fetched for me to make that link up, at the very least, to captivate your mind and put you into remembrance that the things that we see on these TV screens and we see on these movie screens, really, you're seeing rituals play out. Now, this might not be the exact same ritual, but you can see there's precedence for it. The humiliation of the king goes back onto the Babylonians. Guy's gonna get humiliated so that he can get closer to their gods, okay, their idols. All right, these guys that you see out here ain't worshiping Yahweh Hashem outside, man. If Cat Williams was a real guy who give up everything, you know he ain't gonna give up everything, man. He wants to have that Netflix money. He ain't gonna give up everything, man. If Dave Chappelle was a real guy, they was gonna give up everything. You better believe these guys at the top know about the Hebrew Israelites. They know about the truth of Yahweh Hashem outside. They know there's a movement out here for the real God of Israel. They know. But when you're famous, okay, do you know how much people are sending you messages, man? I don't envy the brothers out here that are heads of camps and all of that. Got all kind of brothers texting you, yo, bro, I got this problem. What should I do? Blah, 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 blah. All of that. Oh, brother, have you checked this out? Have you seen this? Have you seen this article? Do you know how much information is being pushed out there when you got 200-300 people that follow you? Man, you're getting so much information. So much information. That's just, you know, that's just within the truth. That's a small scale. A guy that's got 1 million followers, brother, he's getting information all the time, man. They know about the Hebrew Israelites. He's in a circle, knows about the Hebrew Israelites, man. That's just how that system works. That's just how it works, man. So they know about the Hebrew Israelites. So these guys out here trying to come out here with the act of being righteous, and they're exposing the Illuminati and they're exposing all of this information. That's an act. He's doing what he's been told to do. That's part of the movie. That's what you know as controlled opposition. That's what you know as controlled opposition. They're playing a character. These guys are not real. They're playing a character, and it's important to play these particular characters to keep the narrative, right, that they're trying to push out there. That's why you're gonna see certain casts, they'll go out there, they'll be all anti-government, anti-Illuminati, but then they'll take the stabbing jab. I thought Dave Chappelle was just this big rebel. And then he comes after the C19 thing, talk about, look man, I took he's got that voice right. I took the C19 stabbing jab. Let you know that they're all part of the system. And you know what? They was contractually obligated to do that, because every single comedian, right? Every single comedian that came up and did a special after the C19 on Netflix, that's the first topic that they had to tick off the box. Because they got to make quota. They gotta make quota. Remember, all of these companies, right? Netflix, all of that, they all run by BlackRock, right? And BlackRock's got very stringent very stringent very stringent rules as to how you can conduct business with them. Okay, anyways, I'm about to cut this video off because I've been on for a long time. So yeah, there you go, man. There's the ritual, right? The ritual humiliation context, such as the ancient Babylonian Akitu Festival, right, serves to reinforce the social hierarchy by temporarily stripping the leaders of their power. So when you see a guy out there so-called getting roasted, all of that, he's temporarily losing his so-called power to reinforce the structure that they have. Now ultimately, these and they call them gatekeepers, right? These guys out here, you might ask yourself, why would Esau have a Shaquille O'Neal? Why would he have a The Rock? Why would he have a Kevin Hart? Right? When you have one of your own people holding you back, that is reinforcing the social hierarchy. Okay, when you see a so-called Kevin Hart, he's not there to let you know that you can make it. He's there to stop you from making it. I don't know if that point's really been hitting home like I wanted to hit it home. I'm gonna have to re-describe it again. If you didn't have a so-called famous black person, right, that your dreams and your wishes, you just impart your dreams and wishes onto it. You're like, man, I wish I could be this guy. Then you would be in a persistent state of striving for that. Well, when you see that, it does something to the mind. Okay, when you see Kevin Hart and he says all of these impossible things that you had to go through to get to that position, it subverts the mind. Okay, when you see these so-called famous guys, man, it subverts the mind into thinking that, okay, that's that particular challenge gone. I hope I'm making sense at home. That particular challenge has already been achieved, right? So they, in a way, and you already know about the gatekeeping, right? They let Cat William reveal that. You already know about the gatekeeping. They ain't gonna let you in, but they already got one in other words. So they serve their purpose in reinforcing their social hierarchy, right? You see the movies that they do, they be acting like a fool, man. They acting like a biatch, okay? Got dresses on and all of that, man. Doing a madness. And that's all in aid of reinforcing the status quo. See, when you see a big, strong Jake going out there acting moist, acting stupid, right? Being the gatekeeper, that reinforces the social hierarchy. And what's the social hierarchy that Esau wants to reinforce? Esau at the top and Jake at the bottom. So that's just a little bit on the so-called humiliation ritual. When I get the opportunity, I'll go into this a little bit deeper. But yeah, man, that could be the origins of it. But certainly you can see that there's precedence for these pagan rituals and the humiliation that you see these guys out here. Guy out there been a top donny when it comes to, I gotta use that word like the elder does. They've been a top dog when it comes to the baseball and all of that. Is it baseball, Tom Brady? No, it's American football. He's been a top guy when it comes to the American football. Now he's just getting his life dragged through the mire. So what's that all about, man? He's doing his bidding, man. He's got to do his bidding for the God that he really worships. Not the God of the Bible, not Yahweh Shema. No, he's got to really serve his master, his real master. Spiritual demon Satan, Baphomet. The same gods that he was worshipping out there within Egypt. He's got to give them reverence. And this is how they give him reverence, man. That's why you be seeing crazy things, man. I would never do one of these roasts. Just gonna dig up things that I did when I was the things that I've done, okay? Bring out dirt for the whole world to see. No, this is a humiliation ritual, man. This is a humiliation ritual, okay? All part of the spell. In any event, hopefully that's been enough edification. With that, I'm going to say all praise unto Yahweh Shema Shabbat Shemko HaKodesh. Double honors unto the apostles, a great millstone, and the honest brothers that be pushing in truth and sincerity. I'll see you on the next one. Shalom. Shalom.